Welcome back to Monday Manna. Oh my God, I missed y'all so much. I'm so happy to be back with Monday Manna. I'm excited about all that we've been working through all of the latter part of 2024 to get something special for you so we can change people's lives. As you can see, I am not alone. I'm definitely not alone. After months of prayer, after months of fasting and praying, seeking God, it became clear to me that I was not supposed to be at this table alone. So you can see, God sent me a team, and I'm so thankful for my brothers and sisters. I'm excited about what God's going to do in and through them, through what we're calling the Life Table and here at Monday Manna. So y'all, please help me welcome Maya, Tiffany, and Makai. Y'all welcome them to the table. We're so excited. How y'all doing today? Y'all good? Y'all happy to be here?
I'm great.
All is well.
Glad to be at the table.
As always, you are also invited to join the table with us as well. I know you may be asking how. Simply by following the Monday Manna Facebook page and subscribing. You can go to my channel, DDM Inspires, or new channel, the Life Table, which you'll hear more about, Life Table YouTube channel. For more information, just check the comments, and we'll be providing plenty of information through what was called the invitation, which will be led by my sister over here. That'll give you everything you need that you can connect to us and get everything you need to hear from God and be positioned to grow in your discipleship this year. That's what all of this is about. Well, we're doing things a little different here at Monday Manna. We want to take our time, have some conversation, and hopefully through our conversation, you'll be able to grow in the Spirit and grow in the Word through what's going on. I know you heard what we're talking about. I'm going to tell you in just a second. But before we get into all that, I want to stop. You know, when we talk about the table and when we come to the table, different tables in our lives, the one table we all come to is to eat. And when we go to eat at the restaurant, we all make reservations. We all do. And here's the thing. We're all at different places when we make reservations. We are all in different contexts. Nobody arrives to the dinner table the same way. So we want to take time just to check the temperature of everybody that came here today and check to see what's going on with you. How did you make your reservation today? What's going on? What's your temperature like, Tiff, today? What's your temperature right now?
I think I'm on fire today.
On fire.
I'm on fire. It just feels good to be, in a room full of anointed people. It's an energy that I feel. So I'm on fire.
Like it. Fire. What's up? What's going on, Maya? What's up?
Oh man, I'm excited to be here. It's been a rough little couple years. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, I'm at the table to eat.
Let's go.
Let's eat.
I came hungry.
Let's go. Hungry? What's up, Makai? What we doing?
Ready. Is ready a temperature?
Like, it can be. It
Prepared.
can be
It
today.
can be a temperature.
Ready is my temperature. Expectation. Like I'm expecting something at the table. So
Yeah, y'all got me
I'm ready.
excited. Well, let's
I
stop
like that
wasting time.
expectation.
Let's set the
Let's go.
table. Let's set the table. You heard it in all that you've seen leading up to this moment on social media. We have announced it. Here we are. We're finna talk about big word, temptation.
Cue the
Here's
music.
what's crazy. It's the love month. It's the love month. Yeah, I know. Everybody, I know you got your teddy bear, you got your candy, but you better be careful because some of y'all getting teddy bears and candy from that temptation. You getting that temptation. You're going to be tempted in the love month. I want to talk about temptation in the love month. And I want to break down temptation in the most simplest terms through this idea called the algorithm. And I know you've heard that big word algorithm.
Trendy.
It is. I mean,
So trendy.
y'all have heard that word before, right?
And I think everybody's impacted by algorithm and they just don't know it yet.
You don't know
You
it.
have people that don't even know it.
It's like behoove. People be using it wrong.
Behoove.
That is dumb.
They don't know.
That's dumb.
Behoove. Okay. So algorithm. What is the algorithm? Our entire lives, no matter how you shape it, is shaped by choices that we make. Get this, everything, even you deciding to get on and take time to hang out with us tonight was a choice. What you hear is shaped by what choices you make. Who you are, who you consider yourself to be, is shaped by choices. And what we've come in this social media era to understand, there's one word that kind of takes advantage, if you will, of helping you understand your choices is called an algorithm. An algorithm is a set of programmed rules and processes used by social media engines to determine the order and visibility and the relevance of the content that you see every day. In other words, they pretty much set the pattern of what you see every day based on the choices that you make. What better word to encompass what temptation really is?
An algorithm.
It's an algorithm.
Is the algorithm. And the algorithm literally analyzes your behavior and your choices while you're using the social platform. So if you want to know why you see the things you see every day on Facebook or other platforms, it's because of the choices that you make. They're literally feeding off of your choices. And here's what I want to ask the crew. Makai, if someone were to ask you to define your algorithm, and again, that's in the broadest sense. It don't have to be limited to social media. In the broad, if they were to ask you to define your algorithm, what would you say?
Wow. I would definitely say my algorithm is based on intentionality, authenticity, and purpose. Like I choose what I decide to see, and so sometimes it's not just on what who we allow ourselves to be around, but what do we allow our eyes to see?
Okay.
And so for me, I choose purpose. I choose to be authentic, and I choose because if those are goals for my life, I have to make decisions that align with those goals too. So I think for me, that would be my answer.
That's
Preach
tough.
the word.
For sure.
I mean, you preaching, Doc. His algorithm is defined by purpose.
Right.
Wow, that's heavy. Y'all, what's up? What
Man.
y'all think, man?
I don't know. I think my personal algorithm would probably be more based on my predisposition, right? Like, what did I come into? What is my lifestyle? What was my family like? Like, I'm the youngest of 3, and I'm the only girl. I'm also a rainbow baby, so a baby born after a lost child or a miscarriage kind of a thing. So I came into a world that was, the infrastructure was love, right? I've been reared in love. That's probably really my first blessing, was to come to a family that was God-fearing, raised with so much intentionality about love, and love being free, love being open, love for all people, right? And now as I got older, though, I'm thinking like, you've seen good relationships, good marriages, and people with beautiful families all your life. That was almost programmed into me, right? So I'm like, well, that's just what is my next step. So when I got 30 plus and realized like it's not panning out, my algorithm really set me up for a lot of disappointment, right? For what the things that I was taught to desire the most.
Right.
Dog, like, you really need to pay attention to what it is, where are your affinities? What are you naturally affectionate towards?
Come on, affinities.
Right? Because that's really what your algorithm is. It's what do you like enough?
Right.
Yeah.
Every time a puppy comes down my dash, double tap that puppy. They know I like the dogs. They gonna send me more dogs. But if I keep liking trash, if I keep dating trash, if I keep entertaining trash, it's going to flood your algorithm. And I never realized until they always say life is best lived forward, right? Get over things, move on. But life is best understood backwards. And when I sit and think about the last couple of years, I'm like, wow, it was the things that I desired most that left me desperate. And that can be really dangerous. So, like, where do your affinities lie? For me, I've been raised in love, so I expect love. I give love, and that reciprocity left me lacking.
Wow.
Right?
Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. That's
Eek.
good.
Eek.
Tiff, what's up, man?
I can agree to that. By naturally, paying attention to how you naturally respond to certain things. Towards the end of last year, I did a lot of fasting. And one of the things that I fasted from was from social media. I did it for 36 days. And for 36 days,
Inbox was booming.
I don't think it's definitely booming. You don't realize sometimes like how much information and pictures that you process by being on social media, and those things naturally encode in you and makes you think that those are your thoughts. And so without that, it was only me and God, and it's kind of like I was only receiving downloads from God. And it's just a total different feeling.
Totally different experience.
It's a different experience.
Yeah.
So when I came back to social media, the first time I missed Christmas, I missed the inauguration, I missed all of that. So as soon as I got back on, I was scrolling and my heart started beating fast.
Yeah.
I was like, what's wrong? What's happening? I started seeing all this
'Cause
stuff
everything
about
is heavy right
everything
now.
is all the Trump and everything. And I was just like, woo, this is a lot. So I just checked my messages and logged back out. And so I just feel like now my personal algorithm is spirit, assignment, and personal growth.
I hear you, man.
I think that's
man.
interesting though, and real quick, because what you see and that overload of information, we become so inundated that, like, you've seen Inside Out, right? All of those pillars
that's
of your
my movie.
personality.
That's my movie.
And it's like, these things never mattered to me, but you keep feeding it to me. And I'm completely overwhelmed with this thing that some things matter. Of course they matter. I'm not being dismissive. But things that you should be invested in, what really should matter, you find yourself caught up and overwhelmed for other countries or other children. I'm like, I don't even know these people.
Right.
I get my house in order.
Right.
And I think that's really powerful, though, to say, like, I stepped away from the perspective of the world,
Right.
and the perspective I received was God's. That's
love
huge.
But I got a question though. What happens when, so say for instance, everybody's algorithm isn't like personal growth and all these great things, and their algorithm is nothing but negativity and mess and all those things, and I have a desire to change, but also part of an algorithm is location. Because sometimes it's not what we like, it's where we are.
Come on,
that
proximity
will
will
pop
do it
up
for you.
They'll pop up on our feed. Like I'm not even interested in it, but because I'm close to it,
Yeah.
it'll pop up on my feed. So what happens when I desire to do better and I desire to be great, but because of where I am, it keeps me stagnant. Like what do we?
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
I think that's the
Let's
metaphorical
go.
filters, right?
Yes.
The metaphorical filter.
Unfollow.
Right. You have to
Blocked.
remove
Yeah.
distraction. You have to remove yourself from the place. And like, what is it? The principle of proximity says a thing. Like, what's the thing, D? Help me out. Because you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
It could also
Yeah.
be as simple as how can two walk together unless they agree. It is really the proximity of what you're walking with that defines. But y'all listen. Let's just stop playing. Let's get on to what's on the menu. Let's go. What's on the menu? Listen. What's on the menu? What's on the menu tonight is the book of Romans. And I know what you're saying. We typically don't talk about temptation through that book. But the book of Romans, if you take time to break down the book of Romans, it really answers a lot of the questions that y'all brought up today. The book of Romans is written to the Christians at Rome. What's happening in Rome is these Christians are it's a mixed group of Jews and Gentiles, those who don't practice Judaism. And they didn't grow up as Hebrews. So there's some doctrinal issues because Rome is the epicenter of the civilization. It's the epicenter of philosophies, and all these competing thoughts are culminated in this epicenter of Rome. And you are literally walking through, y'all know it.
Yeah.
You've seen history. Yeah. That is the epicenter of Rome is like walking in the epicenter of Facebook. It's like walking in the epicenter of TikTok, bless his heart. Walking in the epicenter of all the. Imagine being in a country that's not. They didn't have social media, but they had Rome. You know what I'm saying? So, in spite of all of that, we get this discourse from Paul that helps us understand the dichotomy between what we're going to talk about is the law and what God has for you, the answer that God has given us on how to deal with when my algorithm is also my struggle. Right? And let me pause right there, because
That was heavy.
Because here's the reality. Here's what I know I'm dealing with February being the love month and with social media. Some of you watching right now, your social algorithm and your relationship algorithm is your struggle. And here's what's on the menu tonight. What's on the menu, here's how I know it's your struggle. Romans 7. I'm going to read this real slow because this is the epicenter of Micaiah's question. He says in Romans chapter 7, verse 21 through 25, he says, I find the law at work. Although I want to do good, evil is right there with me.
There it is.
For in my inner self, I delight in God's law. Yep. But there's another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner. Get that? A prisoner to the law of sin at work within me. Yeah. So that's why I said some of you, your algorithm is your pleasure and your struggle. Oh, and this is what Paul says, verse 20. He says, what a wretched man am I? Here's the question. He posed the same question that Micaiah just posed in a different way. What am I? Who gonna rescue me from my algorithm? Who gonna rescue me from this body that is subject to death? But Here's the hope. Thanks be to God.
There it is.
Who delivers me through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, although myself in my mind am a slave to God's law, but in my sinful nature, meaning I have a nature that sins, I'm a slave to the law of sin. It is my nature that causes me to go back and struggle with that. So I know that's a lot, but here's what I want to take time. I want to take time to walk through 3 simple ingredients to help us answer the question that Micaiah posed. And I'm going to give you a formula at the end of this to make this real simple. The first ingredient as it relates to winning the battle between your algorithm and your choices and what you've chosen in life and being close to things that you know ain't good to you.
Come on.
You know, proximity, some of your proximity is your context list. Yeah. It's your text message history. Because you have a thing in your, and this ain't even in my notes, you have a thing in your text message in your phone where you can offload those messages, but some of y'all holding on to historical messages. And those historical messages are causing
Clouding your confusion. Yeah.
clouding your judgment because you keep going back. Let me keep going. But the first ingredient tonight I want to talk about is, big word, here we go, your standards. If we're going to deal with your question around the algorithm and temptation, guess what we got to talk about right quick? We got to talk about your standards. And for a good book to understand the depth of what God means by your standards, here's what happens in Romans chapter 1. And when we start going in Romans, he says, here's what they did. Here's what creation did. He said they knew God, but they did not glorify God. In Romans chapter 1, verses 21 to 23, he says they knew God, but they did not glorify God or show him gratitude. So what did God do? He said their thinking became worthless, and their senseless hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling a mortal man, birds, or 4-footed animals and reptiles. In other words, instead of making God their standard, they made what they saw their standard.
There it is.
Now think about that in the context of what we just talked about, what my sister just said. It's a
slippery slope.
Come on.
It's a slippery slope because I want you to see it as dramatically as you need to see it, right? Your standards are not the height you want to reach. Your standards are the floor. It has to be here to even begin for you. So when you let that desire that turns to desperation, your standards start slipping. Something's got to happen right now. I got to make it happen. Got to bring them standards down. And the second you take the lesser, you just opened up the door to the enemy. It's a wrap.
Absolutely.
It really is the slipperiest of slopes. The second and people say it all the time, like especially amongst women, girl, your standards too high. It can be jobs, friends, relationships, all the things, your clothes, your standards too high. Why would I ever lower my standards?
Right.
To allow any room for less than? When God has promised me life abundantly,
Right.
less than is not an option. So I really want, and especially for younger people, understand your standards. People be like, oh, it's my standards, it's on Jeep. No. Your standards are your floor. What are you truly standing on? If it can't reach that height, don't even start.
Exactly.
That's the bare minimum. Like
Bare minimum.
What is the bare minimum that you will accept for yourself?
Wow.
Not for somebody else. Like, what is the bare minimum of expectations do you have for yourself? And if you can't meet the bare minimum for yourself, you can't hold somebody else accountable for not meeting your standards if you don't meet your own standards.
I won't even go even more elementary. How are your standards created?
What
You
are
have to
basing
know
on?
yourself.
Yourself.
You can't have standards if you don't know who you are.
There it is. And whose you are. Because your
True.
standards can be worldly or your standards can be divine.
Here's what I want to pose. I want to pose that your algorithm is a reflection of what you value.
Right.
Okay.
Here's what I want to pose. Your morality is often defined by what you worship and what you value. What you ultimately value ultimately determines for you what you consider to be good or evil.
Mm-hmm.
My sister not eating meat. That's a standard. So when we said to her, you want some Chick-fil-A? She said, no
No meat.
meat because my standard is no meat. So that means meat is bad.
And I think that's a really quick principle to pick up in practice, right? Because if you leave here better, then you leave here with something you can tangibly do, right? So when she was asked, tempted, would you like substance? We all are hungry. Her response was, no, I'll be okay. No meat.
And I'm so hungry.
Reminding yourself sometimes when you are tempted is the first thing. And I be trying to tell my youngins this one, because in the heat of the moment, decisions are very, very hard.
Yeah.
But if you have rock solid standards and you can remind yourself quickly, no meat, ain't nothing stopping you. Ain't nothing stopping you. And I'm sure you turn to your prayer life, to your moment of reset to say, like, right now I'm lacking, I'm hungry, I'm feeling things, and I need your provision more than I need my own.
Right.
So let's pause.
Huge.
Tiff, I want you
Huge.
to talk through how you challenged yourself to change your algorithm and your standards a little bit more. Like, if somebody would have said, well, how did you do that? Like, what was the things that you learned to value and not value?
I can only say that I leaned on my faith to figure out what that was. And it hasn't been easy because sometimes it's hard to accept what God is telling you to do.
True.
I used to eat Chick-fil-A once a week. It was my Friday thing. I used to be there at 10 a.m. because I wanted it fresh. And I know it was going to be fire. But when I stopped eating meat, it was like, oh, my God, I want Chick-fil-A so bad. But I thought about my reasoning for stop eating meat and the effects that meat was having on me. And I already had experienced new life from not eating. So why would I go back because I'm hungry?
Y'all didn't hear that. Why would I go back?
Why would I go back because I'm hungry? Like, I can just go get something else. When you asked me today, I was at home, I juice. So I was like, instead of, getting the French fries that I was going to text back to get, I was like, let me drink this juice and go ahead and get my vegetables and my fruits so I can have, some energy.
Choices. I love it. There's a quote I live by. It was my senior quote, actually. It will be choice, not chance, that determines your destiny.
Jesus, say that one more time, please.
It will be choice, not chance, that determines your destiny.
Perfect.
Maya Angelou.
I love it. That leads to the next ingredient. The next ingredient is your choices. So what you worship and what you value creates your standards. Now, let's talk about how your standards create your choices. It's real simple. He says in Romans 7:7-8, he says, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? Absolutely not. Is the law bad? Is my standards bad? But what Paul says, I wouldn't have known what sin is or what is wrong apart from my standards or the law. I wouldn't have known it. So it's not bad. Sometimes we get angry at our standards and we're like, well, is the standards bad because it makes me think about what's bad all the time? No, because I wouldn't have known. She wouldn't have known to say no had she not developed a standards. But your standards are a mirror to what you consider to be right and wrong. And you only know something is wrong if it's revealed to be wrong by your standards. Now, here's what you should be thinking about. If you got bad standards, you could be justifying things that are detrimental to you and calling them right. Let me stop right there. See, if you feel something, just feel free to jump in the comments.
That part.
We got a rule of Monday, man. If you feel something, just say that part.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're in the era of just bad standards, where we would argue people down because we have justified something that everybody else in the room is like, Doc, that's bad for you.
Yeah.
My favorite one is, that's just how I was raised.
Look.
True.
How long can we lean on that?
Is.
Especially in our big grown 30s or 20s.
Or 20s.
Big grown either
I
way.
was raised like that.
Yeah.
That don't make it right.
What does that say though? Like, on that note, have you ever had to confront a standard that was bad for you, but that was the root of how you were raised? Or anybody?
Church in general.
Oh, I was hoping you said it.
Are we going there?
It's church in general. I was raised that you had to look a certain way in church, you had to act a certain way in church, and it wasn't until I got away and got to college, I'm like, this is not what ministry is supposed to be like for real. And so, do I try to go back and change the standard back home? No, because some people you just have to allow them to believe whatever they feel comfortable believing in.
Right.
Because sometimes We may disagree. Our beliefs may be different. Our standards may be drastically different. But I have to allow people to operate in the lane that feels most comfortable for them.
Right.
But as for me, I'm not going to go along to get along, or I'm not just going to go along with a standard that I know it's not even biblically sound.
Right.
So how do we, with the upcoming generation, how do we raise a generation that's okay with not accepting the norms of what past generations allowed?
Ooh, Selah.
Because we're the ones that's going to speak up, right? We're the ones that's going to push.
have
We're
to.
going to be the ones that challenge.
Right.
But then we're looked at as disrespectful.
Right.
Because here's the reality: the meat and 3 was good for a whole generation until somebody said, "Well, vegan could be healthy."
Right.
I think the same applies to church. Are we accepting traditional norms that are dividing us and not helping us?
I'm out of that.
Well, don't be out of it. What's up? What's up?
But the ask, does the standard stay the same?
It can't stay the same if we know it's bad. Here's the thing, like I said, your standard could be messing up your morality. What are you saying, D? Let's go with the formula. If I have a bad standard, then it serves as the moral compass. I have a bad moral compass.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if I have a standard that is faulty, I like a thug dude.
First of all,
That part.
Let me just because that was the 2000s that had
Baby
y'all
holy.
in the chokehold. That had y'all in the chokehold.
Yeah.
It did. You know it did. You know it had y'all in the
Relate.
chokehold.
My
You
essential
know it
water.
For
did.
my time.
You said
You
before your
know it
time.
I need
did.
more water.
You know it did. And so Poindexter is automatically bad.
Look,
Poindexter got money now, though.
I think the culture for a season, until you have a certain amount of biblical wisdom, the culture is going to define your standards,
talk.
right? And that's even if you've grown up in the church.
Yeah.
The church is a culture. We experienced it that way. That was the lens of our perspective for years, and that's all we've ever filtered through. So when you become any bit of worldly, or like for me, I approached religion in college from an academic lens, right? So we was talking about Rome. I was like, oh, baby, Rome, all the roads lead to Rome. But for me, that was a big shift in my perspective, in my framework of realizing, like, we do a lot of stuff we ain't got no business doing.
At all. That part.
Or we should be doing things we won't even try to do. And it's all because of your perspective and your lived experience, because they're framed in culture. So disbanding culture, like what Tiff is doing, which is so radical, to completely remove yourself from social media. I don't need the big pomp and circumstance. I'm coming off the net. I don't keep it. Sis, just go. But when you sincerely go,
Yeah.
where he'll take you,
Right.
I think is magnificent, because I'll be the first one to admit I am so nosy. Oh my God, I'm so nosy. Like, I can't get off the net. I got to know. Like, and I'd be the first one upset and crying over some school shooting or seeing some graphic image, but I looked. And I won't deny it, but that's my framework, and I'm blessed enough to have the understanding to be able to, differentiate and categorize certain things. For other people, you can't exist in every plane. You can't exist in every plane, and especially when you're trying to elevate ministry, like what we've done in the past, when it feels a little too Christ flipping tables, the folks in the synagogue get scared. But that they've only known the synagogue. So I've learned to let people experience Christ at the level at which they have him, and wherever he should take me, God get the glory for it, because you can't lift and climb. People like to say that, but if I stood on this chair, D could pull me down much easier than I could ever pull him up. So again, on proximity, let him move you. Let him move you to it, move you from it. And wherever he'll put you, you'll find your tribe.
Right.
He just said something profound. The people in the synagogue got scared because all they knew was the synagogue. That's a bar.
It's a bar.
But that's
Hot
what we're
16.
dealing with. We're dealing with a lot of people who are afraid to change because it may reveal that their standard was off.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, don't let people with faulty standards slow you down. And just because they said it and a lot of they are saying it, a lot of they, I know it's bad English, but we deal with a lot of they.
Wow.
Just because a lot of they are saying it doesn't mean that you have to say it.
Right.
And it may be I for a long time. That preaches.
Yeah, it do.
It may be I for a long time before it's we, because coming out of they is hard. I know that's broken English, but I hope y'all hear my heart.
It's in the choices.
It's all about
It's
the
really
choices.
in your choices. I'm always reminded of Joseph when he gets to Potiphar's house.
Talk, man.
That does it for me, because it's such a small phrase, but it's the biggest flex when it comes to reminding you, again, no meat, to lean back on your standards. She like, come on, what's up? You know, Potiphar's wife like, come get busy with me. Like, I've been tracking you, dog. Let's make something happen. And what does he say? How could I do that to God?
Jeez.
You could have just said no.
Right.
Like, but even more than just no to my own desire, my own hunger, I said no, and this is why. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. That'll cook.
There's a good book called Change the Culture, Change the Game. I recommend it for anybody. And another book that I'm currently looking back at is Start With Your Why.
Ooh.
You're looking for the issue behind why you are stuck. Sometimes your why is the same thing as your standards, but your why may be feeding into your faulty standards. He didn't just say no. He told her his why.
And it had the opportunity to elevate her own standard.
Exactly.
Aside from just being immoral and inappropriate, my girl, maybe you should not do that to God.
Exactly.
I think that's huge.
So let's take it slow again. Your what you worship creates your standards, or what you value creates your standards, and your standards reveal your choices. And Paul says, by our own flesh, it creates this detrimental cycle that you feel like you're stuck. And I want to pause there, because I'm really feeling, as we're talking, that somebody watching is stuck. You feel stuck. You feel like all you can be is this, and all you can do is this. And every time I try to do better, it just seems like everything around me is fighting against me, because it is. And I just feel like I can't be something else. I can't escape this cycle of my algorithm, because I feel like what mama and them did and what daddy and them did or didn't do or wasn't there forces me to have to make some decisions. And I'm coming for you, and I'm going to tell you that the last ingredient is what I want you to tie into. It's your nature. Now, you got your standard, you got your choices, and you got your nature. After all is said and done, Paul says you can either live a life that is the result of death, because the cycle of sin results in death, because the law reveals the sin that you can't break, and that sin leads to death. So he says that, what are we going to do? Because everything I want to do right, I can't do. I can't just look at the rule and do better, because the more I look at the rule, the more I see the sin, and that's how some of us feel. The more I see I need to get off social media, the more it makes me want to get on social media, because I feel like I'm missing something, and I'm constantly in this cycle, and that creates the backdrop for salvation. Because here's what I heard someone say today: I can leave. I can exit. I can take what Corinthians talks about, the way of escape. And here's what I want to focus on your nature. Romans 7. I want you, when you have time, to read Romans chapter 7. If you're a believer and you study Romans chapter 7, verses 16 through 21. And then Romans chapter 8, verses 1 is where I want to kind of take my time here. It says, therefore, there is no condemnation in those in Christ Jesus. Because, here's why, the law of the Spirit in Christ Jesus sets you free from the law of sin and death. The law of sin and death says you are stuck in this cycle that leads to death. Death entered by Adam. You can only see the law because you can only see sin because of the law. It appears stuck. Jesus says, I will pay the penalty for you, what the law says you deserve, and give you a way of escape. How? He dies for us. Now, I know it's going to get a little churchy, but y'all got to rock with me, because we don't talk about like what salvation really does.
Okay.
In the context of context of temptation. Without Christ, you would be stuck in a cycle of temptation. And some of you right now are. You feel that way. But Christ says, I'm going to take the hit for everything you've done wrong. And the Bible says in Romans 6, we were baptized into that death. Meaning when he died on the cross, all of our sinful nature, all the things you did wrong, all the things you think God ain't seen you did, all the justification stuff died with it. But you weren't stuck there. 3 days later, y'all can get me to preaching, he got
I'm
up.
definitely preaching.
And I'm sorry, because here's what saved me. You were resurrected with him.
Here it is.
Which means that resurrecting power gives you the freedom to override the limitations of your flesh. It's literally the way of escape. What this says is, I cannot in myself break my own algorithm.
That's it.
You can't. But if I change my algorithm, which we'll talk about episode 2, which if I back out and accept the death that is in Christ Jesus, I can have the possibility of being raised with him into a new life, a new nature, a new way of thinking. Here's the simplicity of it. Your morality is defined by what you worship. Your choices are defined by your standards. And your nature is a direct reflection of your choices. Your nature is a direct reflection of your choices. Here's what you can choose. Here's what we put in front of you. You can choose life that is in Christ Jesus, or you can choose the death of trying to do this thing on your own.
Here it is.
Because here's the reality. In the context of this conversation, and it hurts for me to say this, but I have to speak to it. I'm from Antioch, Tennessee. And I'm trying to get emotional saying it because it hurts.
It hurts right now.
An algorithm pushed a young man to walk in the high school I love and say he's not worth being black, so I will kill somebody else and kill myself. It was an algorithm that did that. Walking through the cycle of this formula, his algorithm was fatal. And if I, in preparing this lesson, what I want to say to someone is, if this pops up on your algorithm, I'm telling you, you're not stuck. You are the head and not the tail. You are above and not beneath. There is a way of escape that is better. You are not limited by your past choices. You can either choose life or you can choose death. That's your choice. So, I mean, with that said, let's just take a moment to see lie about that. What are your thoughts in the context of the fact that we live in an era where algorithms are pushing people to do suicidal things? What are your thoughts? How can you encourage somebody? Y'all rock with me because I'm about to.
I need a tissue.
I need a minute. What do you think, guys?
I say clean up your algorithm. I'd say take one day and just scroll through all of your social medias, your Facebook, your TikTok, your Instagram, and stuff that you see. Pay attention to how it make you feel naturally and start unfollowing. That's what I did. I just took time and unfollow, unsubscribe. You can, even when ads run, you can say, don't show this no more.
Yeah.
So it's really taking the time and being intentional to your growth. That's going to change it.
I think for me, it's make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that will support your desire to be better. Because you can make all the necessary changes, but if you don't change who has access to you, they will still feed you what you used to be tempted by and the things that you used to desire. And sometimes our friends can be our greatest temptations.
Oh yeah.
And so
it's a reason it's peer pressure.
For a reason.
It's a reason it's peer
For a
pressure.
For a reason, and sometimes they don't understand why we have to be, why we desire to be better.
Right.
So that's instead of having to explain it to people, sometimes you just have to revoke the all access pass to your life and be more cognizant of who you are allowing to have access to you while you are on this journey of changing your algorithm.
That was a bar. Revoke who has all access pass to your life.
That's fire. I think for me, my takeaway is I hope you are encouraged in some refrain, because it's so easy to point it out. This is what you're doing wrong. This is where you got it messed up. Please refer to the chalkboard. This is where you had me messed up. Like, we can do that all day long. But if you heard it correctly, then you realize my work is completely in vain. And until I invite Christ into my change, into my effort, into my atmosphere, into my walk, there is no real change.
Yeah.
You're just trying out new things. It's a fad diet. You can come off the socials for a minute. You can stop eating bread. But until you really apply this and change your walk, until you start moving in real biblical wisdom, and I think that should feel more liberating than daunting.
Yeah.
Right? Because somebody's hearing it and it's like, there's something else I gotta change. I can't eat almond milk no more, and I can't, like it
That
just
was
feels
me.
like one more thing
That was
that
me.
you have to do, and that's actually not what we said. So that's the only thing I really want you to lean into, is that temptation is coming. The cycle is always going to be a cycle. The only breaker of that cycle is Christ. And whatever is your affliction, your affinities, your transgression, your habits, your vices, until you give that up, you're trying in vain.
And I'm not telling you to go on another diet.
No.
I'm not telling you church.
Because I was nervous at first.
I'm not doing.
I'm not telling
couldn't
you
do
the
another
only
diet.
breaker is church.
Just
I'm not.
couldn't do it.
Please don't hear. Please hear me.
No.
Because I'm about tired.
It's not a building, it's a person.
I'm about tired of that. Like,
It's not a
here's
building.
let me go ahead and deal with this real quick. There is a remnant of us, because y'all got everything to say about us Christians. There's a remnant of us that really do this.
Okay.
That really got Jesus Christ and really do this. We really live this life and could defend our faith. Now, we love you, so we don't rebuke you openly. But please understand, I'm not telling you church.
No.
I'm telling you Christ. I'm telling you that if you're going to live this life and do this and choose life, your old nature has to die with him.
And that's daily.
Daily.
Daily. Like, this isn't a magic trick. I think a
No.
lot of the times, new Christians especially want the magic
Yeah.
of it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here now, so where's my abundance?
Or
Where's my
over-emotional.
prosperity?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those kind of things, when in fact, this is a daily thing. We didn't wake up holier than thou.
Nah.
We choose Christ in those situations. When we're individually tempted, we say no meat.
Right.
Right? Like, that kind of application, that's modeled somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe it's peer-to-peer in a season. Maybe it was your parents in a season. Whatever the case may be. But I think Makai's advice is super, super powerful. Seek out new places, spaces, people. When you're finding yourselves tired of that season and the Holy Spirit is telling you, like, things have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeking that change. Change everything about you. Don't be afraid. And people will be like, oh, you acting brand new. And am.
And am.
I want to be washed in this blood. I want to be brand new. If I had to be her, I don't want to be her.
Why?
And get excited about it. Be so bold, be so brave that you invite Christ into every facet of your life, and you'll realize the cycles can break easily, but you're going to have to choose this daily.
Daily.
And be
Now-
kind to yourself.
Yeah.
I would
Man,
submit
be
that.
kind to yourself.
Grace.
Show
Grace.
yourself some grace. Every day won't be perfect. Like today, I've not. It's the 25th. I've not had fast food in 25 days
Come
until
on.
today.
Until
And I was gonna beat myself up. I was like, you know what? It's okay. Because one day does not deter all the good work that you've put in.
No.
Once you fall off the horse, you fall off the bike, get back on, and keep going.
that's it.
And so I would submit that.
Awesome.
Be kind to yourself.
All right, in the last few minutes, we got what's in y'all's to-go box. Then this is the segment where we say, what's the one thing that you're going to take away from this conversation? In fact, if you already got your one thing, type it in the comments so you can bless somebody else. But, gang, what's y'all one thing? What y'all taking in y'all to-go box?
I guess I could go. There's a righteous way, there's a wicked way. Both ways got consequences. Be wise in which way that you choose.
Let's go.
And when temptation comes, it's always a small window to flee. God give you a window to flee. Take it.
I like it. Mine is to find your reminder. If it's a no meat phrase, if it's a why would I do that to God phrase, you're going to meet a challenge this week, today, earlier today, whatever, whenever you're watching this. Find the phrase that will empower you to make godly choices.
And for me, it is Christ is the ultimate escape plan.
Ooh. He
That
won.
part.
Good job.
That
Woo!
part.
My to-go box is the formula I want to leave you with. Here's the formula I want to leave you with, real quick. Worship plus standards plus choices equals identity. Let me say that again. Worship, what you worship, plus your standards, plus your choices equals who you are. And if you are in Christ, he defined, if I choose worship Jesus, my standards become like his. My choices are shaped by his. I look like him.
Okay.
And so that's what I want to leave you with. Worship plus your standards plus your choices equals identity. Here's what I want to leave you. Choose life, family. Choose life. It's too much going on for you not to choose life. If that means you got to cut some folks off, do what you got to do. Second thing I want you to do, join us next time at the table. Don't be selfish. You know somebody need this. You
Bring
know
a friend.
somebody need this. Bring somebody. Let somebody know to bring a friend. And again, kick the links in the comments. We got something special for you, devotional to help you kind of understand this is coming your way. If you want it, you got to sign up for it. We'll send one your way and make that available for you. Love you all. Thank you for joining us for Monday Manna. Peace.